So luckily for Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M Aggies, they came into National Signing Day with the #1 recruiting class in the nation, but that has not stopped them from adding in more talent because they just got a commitment from a top 10 player in the nation, the #1 player in the entire state of Florida, Shemar Stewart, and we need to break down what this means, plus talk about their insane recruiting class. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you surprised that Shemar Stewart chose the Aggies? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy that content, like and comment down below. Those interactions may seem small, but they are massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all of that being said, we need to break this down and we need to talk about the insane class Texas A&M got. But first, we need to talk Shemar Stewart. And Shemar Stewart is a top 10 player in the nation for good reason. It's not very often you see someone 6'6", 270 plus pounds be able to chase a play down, but when you watch Shemar Stewart, he has that ability. And he wins consistently at the point of attack and is a very intriguing prospect, and there's a reason so many institutions wanted him. He's a top 10 player, the #3 defensive tackle in the entirety of the nation, and the #1 player in the state of Florida. And it came down to the likes of Miami and Georgia, along with Texas A&M. Now, interestingly enough, with Miami getting in Mario Cristobal, there was a large push at the end to see if Miami could keep him in the state of Florida. Ultimately, that did not happen. And look, Texas A&M has been on a tear this year recruiting, but also James Cooley and Terry Price, the two individuals responsible per 24/7 Sports for having gotten Shemar Stewart into the Aggies class. These dudes are elite recruiters, and it's been that way for everywhere they've gone, especially James Cooley, because he has gotten 8 5-stars in his career, and he's done so at Florida State, at Miami, at Georgia, and certainly with Texas A&M. So it's not a surprise whenever he's able to get in a top talent. Shemar Stewart is no different. But specifically, Mario Cristobal is a trenches guy, and he's a guy that can recruit very well. And just earlier today, as well as over the past few weeks, many of you that frequent the channel have heard me talk about the need for Napier, for Cristobal, to be able to put up a fence around Florida, or as much of a fence as they could. It's going to be very difficult to do so because so many institutions that recruit at a high level already have established pipelines to the state of Florida. So yes, Napier can recruit very well. Yes, Mario Cristobal can recruit very well, but you're fighting an uphill battle. Now, it's even furthered in an uphill battle when you haven't even had the job for a year and you're trying to make a push to a 5-star top 10 player in the nation who's getting a pitch by James Cooley and Terry Price from Texas A&M in a year where Texas A&M is putting together an all-time class. I mean, when we look at this class in its entirety, it'll make your head spin, and they are over the moon to get in Shemar Stewart on top of all the other talent they have. Because speaking of that talent, Shemar Stewart is 5-star #7 for the Aggies this year alone, and when we break down what it is they've been able to sign, it's incredible. 16 players that rank within the top 100 players overall in high school football are a part of this Aggies class, and specifically, if we look at that defensive front group, that's a group that has elite potential. Texas A&M signed the #1 defensive lineman, the #3 defensive lineman, the #4 defensive lineman, the #9 and #56 overall defensive lineman into the same class in an elite haul. That's the type of group that makes your eyebrows raise, because how are you going to possibly double any of these dudes? Man, that's an elite group that Texas A&M has put together on that defensive front. But then if we're even talking about the edge position, Texas A&M gets the #4 edge in Anai White and then doubles down with the #10 edge in the nation. So when you look at this class has got it every which way you turn. Being able to pair up Walter Nolan, Shemar Stewart, Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy, and then Anthony Lucas, that has a ton of potential, and you can bet your bottom dollar that offenses in the SEC are taking notice because they have to. But it's not even relegated to the defensive front. 2 of the top 3 wide receivers in Evan Stewart and then Chris Marshall, a 5-star cornerback, multiple top-tier safeties such as Bryce Anderson, Dayon Bowie. I mean, everywhere you turn in this Texas A&M class, there's a name and a reason to be excited. So Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies have absolutely done a phenomenal job on this class, and hats off to you. And I know people are going to point out the use of NIL, but that's something that is legal now, and so teams are going to be able to utilize that. And look, utilize it to your heart's content while you have the ability to do so, because I think many people have kind of expected at this point there will be sweeping changes to NIL. How severe and what they look like, I can't say. But anytime you roll something out that has the effects that NIL has, there's ultimately going to be some sweeping changes. It's just going to be interesting to see what they look like. But until those changes come, ball out while you can, and Texas A&M was able to masterfully put together a class that is really elite. Now, what does this mean for the future? Well, as always, whenever you put together a class that looks like this, and Jimbo Fisher is no stranger to top 10 classes, he's been able to do so, but whenever you put together a class that looks like this specifically, national championship aspirations are the natural conversation. And certainly we can talk about what A&M looks like next year, but 2-3 years down the line, whenever we really get into the meat of this recruiting class, that's where that pressure really starts building up. So will Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M Aggies be able to capitalize on a class such as this? Though I can't say, I will say this, getting a class such as this is certainly step one to be able to hit that aspiration of a national championship. It's never easy doing so against the competition A&M will have to go through, but getting in a class like this, I mean, that's certainly a start. So, Texas A&M may not even be done with Harold Perkins still on the board, a one-time commit of the Aggies who decommit. But this class from top to bottom is unbelievable. I mean, whether you talk about the defensive front, the edge group, the cornerbacks, they have in Denver Harris, a 5-star cornerback. Everywhere you look, there are names to be excited about. And that just means a few things. First and foremost, that the Texas A&M fan base is going to be over the moon. But it also means that the pressure is up on Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M Aggies. So it's time to see what happens now that the pressure's there. That's it. See ya.